What if everything you thought you knew about weight loss was a lie? Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. For decades, we have known that weight loss comes down to a simple equation of calories in minus calories out. That everyone just needs to follow the simple laws of thermodynamics to have an equal chance of losing weight. Well, what if I was going to challenge that assumption? What if 100 calories of chocolate had a different effect on the energy equation than 100 calories of broccoli? What if the calories in an apple to me were different than the calories in an apple to you? The math here just ain't gonna math.
What?
So today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the health of our gut and answer the age-old question, is a calorie a calorie a calorie? And a quick thank you to Erin Davis, my RD colleague, for supporting me on this. Don't forget to hit up my general disclaimer, including a reminder that this video is not an encouragement or a suggestion to try to lose weight or to manipulate calories. I am simply going to be answering a super interesting sciencey question that is consistently misunderstood in the weight loss community. Also, don't forget to hit up my description for my free hunger crushing combo ebook for some healthy meal and snack ideas. Let me hop in here super quick to tell you about today's sponsor, ZBiotics. I love all my sponsors, but rarely am I so excited that I would leap at the chance to buy shares in this company. That's how much I love it. But if you haven't heard me talk about this yet, ZBiotics is a probiotic drink that you take before you drink alcohol to prevent the rough morning aftermath. This is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic invented by a team of PhD microbiologists that's been specifically designed with this one job in mind. Basically, when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct, acetaldehyde, that's responsible for the rough next day. ZBiotic Probiotics produces an enzyme that breaks down that byproduct in your gut. This is no word of an exaggeration, but I have turned my entire friend circle onto these things by giving them out before dinner. My friends are now telling their friends about them because we just cannot rally with our kids without it. Now, this is not an invitation to over imbibe. You still need to drink responsibly, stay hydrated, and of course get a good night's rest. But this absolutely helps me function the next day with my kids. So this Halloween, you can pair your candy and cocktails with ZBiotics to avoid a spooky next morning, if you know what I mean. Go to zbiotics.com/AbbeySharp or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% off of your first order when you use Abbey Sharp at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. ZBiotics is backed by 100% money back guarantee, so if you're not satisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. And don't forget to head to zbiotics.com/AbbeySharp and use the code AbbeySharp at checkout for 15% off. Thank you again to ZBiotics for sponsoring this video. Okay, so as I discussed in my video right here, weight loss efforts are made a little bit complicated by a wide range of compensatory mechanisms that our body throws into high gear to maintain our homeostatic set point weight. I also went to detail into why calorie counting isn't a precise science in a very controversial video that got people really riled up right here. But as a little recap, there are several factors that influence our body's calorie needs beyond those that just go into formulas or calculators that we have access to online. So things like muscle mass, climate, hormonal status, weight history, ethnicity, and a lot more. There's also the thermic effect of food and changes to the calorie count with chewing and cooking. Not to mention the whole calorie calculation is based on a ridiculously small study and the research was thoroughly flawed. But further complicating this already very complicated, flawed science is the role of our gut. And that is what we're gonna focus in on today. So we have ample research at this point that links specific gut microbiome profiles or characteristics to obesity and metabolic syndrome. In other words, fat people's guts just look different than thin people's guts. We tend to see specific bacterial species in the guts of folks who are overweight and other species that are found in folks who are lean, with the most prominent observation being that obese folks tend to have high firmicutes to bacteroidetes ratio. So this high F to B ratio is one example of gut dysbiosis. Neither of these bacteria are necessarily bad, but disrupting the ratio is where we see some trouble. But the question is, what comes first? The bad microbiome or the diet-related obesity? In other words, is our diet to blame for ruining our gut microbiome, which then becomes a marker of obesity? Or does our gut microbiome inherently destine us to obesity? Let me go wash my hands and I will answer that question for you.
Several bad puns later.
Well, honestly, we don't totally know, but it's probably a little bit of both. So we know that genetics can alter our gut microbiome, and we also know that mom's gut microbiome can influence baby's microbiome in utero, as can breast milk in that first year of life. But if your mom had a bad microbiome or a bad diet, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're destined to be overweight. How we nurture our own microbiome through diet is really key here. What we eat has a direct and important impact on which bacteria species can grow and flourish. And fiber, aka prebiotics, is the fuel that feeds the good bacteria, which is one of many reasons why fiber is an integral part of my hunger crushing combo. Interestingly, in contrast, one review of the literature found that people whose diets was low in fiber and high in animal protein had guts with a ratio of high bacteroids to low levels of firmicutes, which is associated with IBD. So no, the carnivore diet is probably not good for your gut. Now, another diet that might not be so good for the gut, depending on how you interpret it, is something like if it fits your macros. Now, obviously, this could be done in a super balanced, gut-friendly way, but do you guys remember when like Fit Bros on TikTok and Instagram were promoting eating like Pop-Tarts and like Little Debbies for weight loss? I mean, this might work just fine for some folks to some extent for a certain period of time, but it's certainly not best practice for weight loss. And we used to think this was just because eating a food like Pop-Tarts, which is low in hunger-crushing compounds, simply makes staying in a calorie deficit a little bit more difficult because you're gonna get hungry. But new research suggests that we may actually absorb more calories from those Pop-Tarts versus the equivalent number of calories of apples or peas. Let me explain. So, a recent 2023 study proposed that a calorie is not just a calorie. It's not just about how many calories are available to us. It's about how many of those calories that our body uniquely can use and absorb. And that depends on our gut. So ultra-processed foods like Pop-Tarts are quickly absorbed in the upper gastrointestinal tract, which means we can kind of like squeeze more energy out of them. But higher fiber foods make their way into the large intestine, where bacteria kind of like await their feast. The bacteria can digest and absorb some of those available calories, leaving fewer excess calories to be potentially stored as fat. So our body and our microbes are basically fighting over this energy, right? And the more processed the food, the more likely we are to win, and the less likely we are to share with our microbes. Rude, right? As my justice-obsessed 5-year-old would say, sharing means caring. But anyways, in this study, they gave one group a very fiber-rich diet. Lots of resistant starch, fruits, veggies, beans, whole grains. That was designed to make the microbes super happy. And then they gave the other group a diet that was rich in ultra-processed foods. So things like a lot of white bread, ground beef, American cheese, cheese puffs, cookies, deli meats, etc. Now this was a small study, but super, super rigorous in design because the participants had to live in a metabolic ward where every single calorie was accounted for. That's really hard to do. And it wasn't just the inputs that they were controlling, they were collecting the outputs too. AKA, they were collecting everybody's poop. And when they looked at said poop, they were able to measure the lost calories. We'll call them the lost boys. So the fiber group lost, on average, 217 calories per day, while the processed food group only lost about half of that. And some people lost around 400 calories in the fiber-rich group, which alone could create a calorie deficit, resulting in almost a pound loss per week. So this likely came down to the existing health and diversity of each participant's microbiome. The more good bacteria and the more diverse the party going on down there, the more calories they can gobble up. And if you're thinking, well, wouldn't losing calories just like make you more hungry and want to eat more? Actually, no. The study found that the fiber group did not experience any increase in hunger despite losing the fight for more of those calories. And that's not even the most interesting part. I know I'm geeking out here, but stay with me. Not only did the fiber group not absorb or utilize as many calories, but feeding the gut bacteria also produced short-chain fatty acids and increased levels of GLP-1. And if that term sounds familiar, it's because people are spending up to $1,000 per month to inject themselves with this to help suppress their appetite and help them lose weight, aka Ozempic. So this is like part of the package deal when you eat more fiber. It's truly magical stuff. And obviously, as I said, this is a small study and we need a lot more research to confirm these findings on a much bigger scale. But it may offer some really interesting insights into what we know about a predominantly whole food, plant-based, high fiber diet and weight management. So for example, research has associated a reduction in short chain fatty acids, which we just mentioned, with a higher risk of obesity. So short chain fatty acids are basically the byproduct of bacteria fermenting resistant starches and fibers that act as signaling molecules to reduce appetite hormones like PYY and ghrelin and increase metabolism and calorie expenditure. And research is now exploring how fiber supplementation can increase these short chain fatty acids in the gut on a dose-dependent basis to have all of these potential weight management effects. Dysbiosis is linked with obesity, and we know that our diet can play a role in feeding the good bacteria to help to correct this dysbiosis, while also feeding our bacteria instead of our fat cells more calories, if that makes sense. And all of this plays into weight management. So if you're like, okay, Abby, just tell me what to do here, this next section is for you. So obviously, it starts with diet. That's why we're here. Prebiotics and probiotics. So prebiotics are the bacteria food, which as we've established is predominantly fiber. So dietary fiber consensus recommends about 14 grams per 1,000 calories per day, which is anywhere in the neighborhood of like 25 to 38 grams of fiber. But just like you might like broccoli and I might like Brussels sprouts, different bacterial strains can kind of be like picky about their preferred fuel. So if we want a diverse and plentiful microbiome, we need different fiber sources. Every fiber promotes its own unique microbiota action. So bacteroids like soluble fiber, oats, barley, apples, etc., and something like actinobacteria like insoluble fiber. So things like wheat bran or nuts, etc. Now, I think I've patted this enough. Let me wash my hands and I'll tell you more.
A few minutes later.
Now, probiotics are sources of the bacteria themselves, aka fermented foods like sauerkraut, kombucha, kimchi, kefir, yogurt, etc. We also know that probiotic supplements can help to restore that optimal firmicutes to bacterioet ratio. So the most common study for this are the lactobacillus and the bacillus strains and Saccharomyces yeasts. And while fiber can absolutely help you better manage your appetite and hunger, we do still want to be mindful about overconsumption. So one study found that increasing calories from 2,400 to 3,400 increased the firmicutes by 20% and decreased the bacteriodetes by another 20%, which is the same ratio associated with risk of obesity. Now, exercise can also modulate gut bacteria by effectively promoting bacterial diversity, improving that firmicutes to bacteriodetes ratio, increasing the proliferation of bacterial species that can improve gut barrier functions, and stimulating bacterial species that produce those short-chain fatty acids. And remember, those short-chain fatty acids help to suppress hunger and improve our metabolism. So this is a very complicated subject, but I think that the solution is actually quite simple. Add more high fiber whole foods to your diet. It's also a good reminder as to why my hunger crushing combo works over something extreme or restrictive like keto or carnivore. And it encourages variety, which, as we've established, is really key to keeping our very diverse microbiome happy. And it also encourages you to add fiber, which not only contributes to satiety because of its ability to slow down digestion and flatten the blood sugar curve, but it also increases those short chain fatty acids production, which helps to manage appetite. If you're interested in other gut health videos, leave me a comment below because I could geek out on this all day. I'm gonna throw my baked French toast in the oven right now. And on that note, that's all that I have for you guys today. Thank you again to Erin Davis for research support on this one. It was a doozy. I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye.